Hey, everybody, how is it going? Happy Saturday. Hopefully, everything is going great on your side of the screen. As usual, we're here with the Good Bit Stream to highlight all the amazing and positive stories that's happening within the world of Bitcoin, circular economies, and of course, all the builders that are making this possible, driving adoption worldwide. So, really cool things are happening in the world of Bitcoin. And of course, let's celebrate together. And those of you that have been seeing the post that we've been putting out, we have a lot to be celebrating about. There's one way to look at this. Like you can only look at the charts, or you can look at all the amazing things that's happening in the world of Bitcoin. And that's what we do. So those of you that are not familiar, my name is Taj, by the way, and we will be streaming here every single Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, highlighting all these positive stories. That's what we do. And as usual, let's just jump right into the story. So if you haven't noticed, one of the last tweets that we put out was sharing the fact that we're going to do a nice little giveaway celebrating a major milestone of Bitcoin. However, a little caveat, I will put it out there that realize that we're a little bit late in noticing this milestone, or celebrating this milestone, I should say, because if you have been paying attention to the world of circular economies, Bitcoin Lightning, and all of these things, that you'll see a common theme that's coming up right now. A lot of people are highlighting and sharing the fact that Lightning adoption is really taking off. Now, if you're living in the US or certain parts of Europe, you might think, well, no one's really using Bitcoin, right? That is not the case. In fact, we had over $1 billion in transactions per month consistently for a period of time now. Now, the first time this really jumped on our radar and popped into our awareness was actually in November. However, the charts, the data, and the reports, if you're looking at Yahoo Finance, Bitcoin News, and other places, even we shared it out recently, because this really became a focus and a highlight. And a great place that we're going to take a look at is this chart right here, which was shared by Bitcoin News and River. Now, what's really interesting with this is if you look at the dollar value of the transactions, the estimated monthly Lightning volume. That, by the way, that is also why it's a little bit tricky trying to get all this data, because Lightning, the way in which it operates, it's not like you can just look at it as easily as, the main Bitcoin transactions. There's lots of nodes, different wallets, operators, and so on. But anyways, going back to the point of this, celebrating this amazing thing, why this data was a little bit delayed coming out. But August, as you can see, August 2021, you can see that there was $12.1 million per month in transactions. And as you can see, steady, 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 then boom, 2025, it just explodes. Things really, really take off. Now, we've been highlighting all of these various transactions and videos of these communities just all over the world in the quote unquote global south. Some people like to use the term developing nations, third world, whatever you want to use. Terms always change. But anyways, smaller economies, not the top 20, the dominant industrial countries of the world. They're the ones who are mostly using these circular economy apps, these Lightning wallet apps, and they're using it as currency. They're going to the local market. They're doing various things, which I find very interesting. Why we always highlight these things, because of course on the Good Bit Streams, not only do we highlight the positive feel good stories and so on, but we like to highlight circular economies and the tech, and all of it glues together. That's why we always bridge everything together. But you can see not only the dollar value, but the number of transactions here on the right side actually going up quite a bit too. And then it dips a little bit in 2025. But you might be wondering, like, well, why is it going up in dollar value? But it seems to be going up and down. Right here, there's a little bit dip from the peak in 2023. It's because the size of the transactions are actually going up. So before, it was a lot of micro payments, $1, $2, $3, $4 transactions happening all around the world. And many Bitcoiners says, well, that's not really significant. That's not what's driving adoption and driving, I guess you would say, the flow of people coming into Bitcoin. However, the size of the transactions are going up. So as these people go out, they buy their soda, they buy their bread and a few things, they realize, oh, this thing really does work. And what ends up happening is within the circular economy, people start to support one another, they start to use it. And then once the trust is in that system, Guess what happens? Now merchants start taking more this larger transactions. The users that would normally cash out maybe or just use it very quickly, no, they start to save their sats, and then they could start to make larger purchases. So I can think of the very first time I onboarded someone with a purchase, which was those of you that have been watching the stream, you might know it is with socks, right? So I went to this lady. I said, "Hey, have you ever?" Well, first of all, let's rewind the story. This was Bitcoin Pizza Day. This was on May. We're having a nice little gathering and everything. And this lady that was outside selling socks came to me and was like, "What's going on over here?" So I said, "This is a Bitcoin Pizza Day. We're doing celebrating Bitcoin and the fact that years ago someone purchased pizza with Bitcoin. So every year, all around the world, Bitcoiners have pizza. And one of the things that we're doing inside is we're paying for pizza with Bitcoin. Do you know about Bitcoin?" Obviously, this person had no clue. Never heard about Bitcoin, Pizza Day, what we're talking about. She was like, I don't even know what that is. So I said, do you want a slice of pizza? Says yes. I said, cool. So I bought her socks using Sats. I just used a Lightning wallet, bought some socks from her. She went into the pizza store and she went and bought the pizza. Now, that was a very small transaction, a slice of pizza, not much. Now, that was her first interaction, her first experience using Bitcoin. So obviously, within minutes of receiving Bitcoin, she's like, let me see if this thing is really real. I just gave away some socks. Let me see if I can actually get some food with it. So instantly, she wants to spend it. So within 5 minutes, money changed hands 3 times. So the thing that was interesting with that is once she saw that she actually did get a pizza, like cash never touched her hand. She didn't take out her debit card or her wallet, anything. She was like, wow, this is weird. I don't know exactly what happened, but I would like to learn more about this Bitcoin thing. So going back to the story here, the reason why you're seeing these transactions, even though if the volume might be dipping, but the transaction numbers are going up, it's because once people realize that the system works, they start to use it more and more. They put more faith into it and they bring their friends into it. They onboard other merchants, they onboard other customers. And that's why this whole thing is very important in the sense that circular economies do solve a real problem all around the world. So I always say that if you're living in an economy that you have your Cash App, your Zelle, you have your Venmo, you have all these instant transactions, PayPal, whatever it might be, this might not be a problem that you truly understand, but everywhere you can see merchants that are having chargebacks, they're having various fees associated with banks and so on. So even in the US, there is a lot of incentives for merchants to adopt this system, start using Lightning, start using that as or accepting that as a form of payment. But we're seeing that all around the world. And that is why it is exploding. People are being onboarded and they realize that it works. And then they start to put more money in the system. And that's a beautiful thing. So Bitcoin definitely growing. And in celebration of doing that, as I said, I was going to give a giveaway. So towards the end, I will give you the instructions. So those of you that tuned into the stream last week, you know that I shared these right here, which is an amazing. Okay, why won't this open? Conversation piece. I'm a sucker for conversation pieces. And as you can see, every week something happens live. But here, I'll open this right here, or I'll show you this right here. This is a deck of cards, which I am trying to open, but for whatever reason, my finger is getting stuck in here. Here we go. Let me reach for a little tool right here. I'm probably the only person on a planet that needs a little screwdriver to open a deck of cards, but I really want to show you these cards so you can actually see how cool they are. And I'm giving these away. My goodness, this thing is ridiculously hard to open. Am I going to have to damage the box here live just because I don't want to mess this up? I don't want to mess this up. There we go. Little patience, just like a Bitcoiner hodling it, right? Just take your sweet time, no rush. Get this deck open. All right, beautiful. So here we go. We have a deck of Bitcoin cards. So you can see right there, some really beautiful gold cards. I think these are really cool. And I will be giving away one of these. And in addition to these wonderful cards, something that comes with it that I think is just very, very, very cool is, by the way, has a nice little certificate of authenticity. But also, it has a coin that's attached to the top of it. Opening this right here, we can check this out right here. So those of you that are into conversation pieces such as myself, you can get this wonderful obviously Bitcoin is digital, but this Bitcoin that looks like gold, but it is not. We definitely are not giving away gold coins here on the stream. But just for participating, hanging out with this, you can get this little conversation piece and so forth. And at the end, I'll tell you full description of how to do that. But going back to the story on hand, the reason why I tried to give one of these away last week, but we're continuing the trend since nobody claimed it. We will be doing this in celebration of the explosion of Lightning, and we're doing $1 billion a month now in Lightning transactions, which I think is absolutely amazing. Some really cool stuff is happening right there. But going back to the stories, circular economies, and all these amazing things, let's take a look at what's happening around the world here. So, those of you that are tuning in, really appreciate it. And we're going to take a look at this amazing story right here. So, oftentimes I speak about various wallets, things that are happening around the world, such as I like to speak about the Blink wallet. I speak about the Flash wallet here locally. I speak about so many ones that are around the world. Tando happens to be one that's in Kenya. I've mentioned it several times, but this is something that kind of glues stories together because oftentimes I'm highlighting what's happening in South Africa. But this right here is something that's happening in Kenya. So first and foremost, I'm going to point and bring attention to this vehicle, the Bitcoin Yetta, which is very popular in the South American Bitcoin circular economy communities. But all through Africa, there's a bunch of them too as well. But this one drives around in Kenya, onboarding people. This is the founder, if you will, of the Tando wallet, and she goes community to community, onboarding local Kenyans onto this thing. There's a QR code right there. Of course, this is just going to be an attention grabbing thing. You drive into town with this thing, especially when you're in the rural areas, this orange, brightly colored vehicle, it's going to draw attention. And then it's inviting people to the website and all the amazing things that they're doing there. So not only are they onboarding people and they are setting it up as a nice, friendly wallet for circular economies, but they're inviting them to the Bitcoin Kenya website where they're going to get some education. The main reason why I want to come over to this site right here, there's a lot of text right here on the education side, but there is a chart right here, which I really like that I wanted to share with you guys. So imagine you're a local Kenyan, you're walking around, you see this, a Bitcoin Yetta, this vehicle, if you will, driving around. It catches your attention. You say, hey, what's going on over here? What is this thing? I said, oh, you guys are Bitcoiners. Well, I heard about this Bitcoin, but what is it? I don't know about it. Well, they start to onboard you. Next thing you know, you have a wallet downloaded on your phone. You're getting some education, why Bitcoin is important, why our currency, fiat that we're using is devaluing. You're getting less and less because of inflation and they're printing more, so on and so forth. All problems that everyone around the world can realize, and they can, it doesn't really take much convincing to tell them that you can't buy as much today as you used to buy with your money, right? Everyone knows that. You don't have to know math. You don't have to know technology. You don't have to know anything about Bitcoin to understand that, right? But then once the conversation starts, then you get into the whole education process because no one's just walking around saying, hey, educate me, educate me. You have to catch their attention with something, right? You have to catch their attention, win their hearts, if you will, their trust. And then you start to educate them because, again, no one's just asking for this. So nice visuals like this, explaining the difference between gold, fiat currencies, and Bitcoin, the durability, divisibility, the fungibility, and the portable, verifiable, scarce, tracking the record, all these various things that is just comparing and contrasting the various things, because obviously certain things are going to matter to certain people than other people. And with this, I just find it really cool. Nice little visual right here, a little conversation piece. It's like, well, why is this a plus? Why is this a minus? Why is this? Why these are question marks? And so on, right? So it's just really, really interesting, I think, how they do this. And it's very localized. Great domain, of course, Bitcoin. Not Coke, like Coca-Cola or whatever, but co.ke, which is the abbreviation for Kenya. And they have a very localized version. They know their people, and this is how they're onboarding people. And by the way, the Bitcoin data, these are all different communities, which I think are amazing. A lot of African Bitcoin communities are connected and so on. They have their logos, they have their community centers, they have their various educational hubs, and they all do it in different ways because each community is going to be very different. So even if you are in the States, how you're going to approach someone in New York, how you're going to deal with someone is very different than how you're going to deal with someone in, let's say, Savannah, Georgia, right? The Southern hospitality and like all those things that, like, the culture, the pace of life, the problems locally, and you can tailor all of these little hubs, these clubs to that. And I think that's just really cool that it's not just a country thing, it could be just a neighborhood. So, one of the things that I'm actually doing here locally is in just my town, we're setting up a hub, basically the same thing that these groups are doing, and so on. And of course, I know people locally, I know local business owners, and so on. So that's how I'm going to tailor. And I know personally that here in Jamaica, people are not going to read a website like this. It's not that Jamaicans cannot read. Jamaicans are very literate, but they choose not to sit and read articles like this, and so on and so forth. So doing meetups, having visual aids, videos, and things of that nature, WhatsApp groups. I mean, that's what works for us. So we have Island Bitcoin, which is a WhatsApp group community. I'm not saying to use WhatsApp because, of course, we all know WhatsApp has their own issues and so on. But that is like king for messaging here where I live. So wherever you live, it might be Telegram, it might be Signal, it might be Discord, it might be God knows what, just whatever it is. If you're interested in starting one of these groups, one of these communities, onboarding friends, families, local businesses, and so on, just searching them up. Just type in your search bar, Bitcoin circular economies, Bitcoin circular economy communities, and you can find all sorts of different things. What I think is just really interesting, though, again, the educational thing, you have to know your audience, who you're dealing with, how they break down all the questions, all the things. Because some people will not ask questions in person. They just want to see everything. They'll want to look it up and so on. So having a nice little depository, whatever the word is, of all this information with all this Bitcoin stuff. And again, what's relevant to your audience, how they're going to consume it. I would actually suggest, like, if this was Jamaica, this is, my community, what I would probably do myself personally is put a video for every single one of these. So I would have a 1 minute video explaining and answering every single one of these. I should write that down. I just thought of that live right there, and I'm going to clone this idea and break this down in video format, and I'm going to do this locally here for Jamaica. But anyways, so I said all of that to say, and I'm sharing this with you to inspire you to actually try some cool things and go out there and do various things. Because again, one thing that I will say, I'm going to come back over here to me, is that what happens in one community might be very different than what happens in your community. So, what I also find very cool is another thing that I want to show you. I don't believe I've ever showed one of these on a live stream. I've spoken about them before, but this is a flash card. So this card right here is actually a Bitcoin wallet. So in case you don't have a smartphone at hand, you might not be connected, and so on, you can actually just forward some sats onto this. And yes, it's like walking around with a debit card or anything of that nature. This one's actually customized. As you can see, the the lion is very Rasta right here. We have the Jamaican flag, and trying to get this into focus. But this particular one is a Bitcoin I forget what it's called, NFT and NFC, excuse me, NFC, the tap to pay feature that, hey, you have on your debit card and so on, near field technology. Or is it, yeah, near field communications, NFC, near field communications. And when you tap on your, just as you'd use your debit card and so on, it's the same technology that does that. So those of you that are listening saying, oh, that does not sound safe, that sounds crazy, why would I walk around with my sats? I'm not walking around with generational money on this thing. I'm literally walking around with like pocket change, right? So it's no different than what I would have if I had some cash in my pocket, or I'm walking around with my debit card. Actually, even less, because most of us in our checking account, we would have more than what I would actually have on this card. And in this, what I would have is, let's say, $50, 50 US dollars worth of sats, right? So if I'm going out and I'm buying something, and just tap right there, good to go. And it's just very interesting. Last week I showed, or the week before, I showed a guy who was paying with a ring, right? There's Bitcoin rings where you tap to pay with a ring. So there's lots of technology that's out there that's just really making all this possible and very interesting. if you will, all around the world. But the last segment, of course, that we are going to go to, because I like to cover not just the feel good accomplishments and all the amazing things that's happening within the world of Bitcoin, but also the technology that's making all of this possible. And one thing that I really want to highlight, and first and foremost, I got to give props to Jack Dorsey. I feel like I'm a Jack Dorsey fanboy on the show, but you have to give credit where credit's due. The guy is out there. Those of you that might believe he's Satoshi Nakamoto, I mean, like, power to you. But whether or not he is, which, whatever, it's fun to speculate and have fun with it. This guy's been here from the early days, a true and true Bitcoiner, supporting the ecosystem and doing all sorts of amazing things, not just with the coding community, developers that are building stuff, but what he's actually using his companies to do with Block there. So what he's using with Cash App in particular, now with the Lightning transactions, all those amazing things, slashing fees, a lot of that is free within the Cash App for, I believe, a year and a half till 2027, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool, just trying to onboard the US, because Jack Dorsey, in case you don't know, he's of the belief that Bitcoin will die if we don't use it, right? If it's just a store of value, it will fail on the premise in which that it was designed for as a peer-to-peer cash system. It's the title of the white paper and so on. So he's on the belief that if it all just gets locked down like gold, there's not enough transactions, there's not enough people using this thing, it's just going to be a store of value for the wealthy. And since, once the mining is all complete, then it's just going to be out of circulation. And he does not want that. And I think it's really interesting. Not going to go into all the technology of it, but just look up the debates that have been had about the security budget and so on. Some people say it's a myth. Some people say it's not. Just go look it up, Bitcoin security budget. But anyways, getting people to use the Bitcoin is something that is very near and dear to his heart. And this video came out, which I think is so cool. I'm going to just play this, showing a possible design. This was from someone that works on the Cash App team. We shared this here on Wolf Bitcoin. I thought it was just really, really, really cool when I saw this, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Without me even like talk, let me just shut up and just play the thing. So yeah, take a look at that. Right? So I think that is so cool. That graphic interface, that user interface. One of the things that is kind of crazy with this whole world of Bitcoin or whatever, even like when you get down to any new technology, I know at this point, 17 going on 18 years now is not quote unquote new technology, but we're talking about the adoption curve, the bell curve. It's still new technology for most of the world. The average person, if you just go up to them and ask them about it, like, they have no idea what Bitcoin is or Lightning is. They know the name. Some people will have opinions without even understanding anything about it, which I think is a hilarious thing anyways. But how to use it is one of the issues. So having Cash App, and I really, really pray that this design actually does ship, that they do use this thing. Just imagine paying $25 peer-to-peer just like this, sending some sats and transferring it like that. It's very visual. You can actually see it going forward. Now, I know someone might be looking at this like, how is that even possible? How, like, there's no QR codes. They didn't actually physically touch what's going on there. It might be touching in the corner. I don't know. But all I know is this video that they posted, like, I think it's just a cool thing. So if they do not ship this, I just want to ask every single dev, wallet designer out there that, hey, if they don't use this, if this is not patent or whatever, like, also the spirit of Bitcoin is like open source, a really cool thing that you can launch your own Lightning wallet all around the world, tailor it to your specific needs, your culture, your language, your colors, things that your people need, even putting local maps of your community on there. You can do that all because it's all open source, really cool stuff. So this design right here, this graphic user interface, I think would be very, very cool. So if they don't ship this, I would say, if you're watching this, or if you know a dev that's working on something, tell them to check it out and use that design. I think it's just really, really cool. So going back to this, I just want to say, it is Saturday. Really appreciate you hanging out with us on the stream, doing this amazing stuff. We put out a lot of content, and it would not be possible without you, the audience. Thank you for spending time with us. But what I really want to say is, again, we're giving away this. Those of you that are just tuning in, how you can win this, and I can see a lot of people are already commenting and so on, is to just let me know that video that I just showed you of that Cash App, pouring the sats into the next phone, into the peer, going peer to peer. What are your thoughts of that? Like, would you use it? That's all I want to know. Would you use it? Yes or no? And that's all you have to do. Just comment under this video. Just let me know. Would you use that thing? And you'll get entered into the video. So right here, or did I say entered into the video? No, entered into the giveaway. So next week when I go live, I'm going to put all the names on a wheel. I'm going to spin it, and the winner is going to win not only this deck of cards, but also the coin that comes with it. So all you have to do is answer that simple question. Would you use that Cash App graphic interface that I just showed? So a few people, by the way, TSN, as usual, my man, I really appreciate you hanging out with me on a Saturday evening. I think it's actually, wow, this should be like midnight by you, if I'm not mistaken, halfway across the world. But really appreciate it. A lot of innovation comes from these economies. Yes, absolutely. I feel like the smaller the economy, the more they need Bitcoin, the more they're trying to innovate with this. And the beautiful thing about it being open source is like they can go on GitHubs, they can share this stuff. And especially now with vibe coding and AI, it's just absolutely amazing what could be built in a weekend with some people, because a lot of these codes that's up there started with the Blink wallet that was known as the Bitcoin Beach wallet, and they've been open source. They have been analyzed, scrutinized, and gone through by developer communities, and then they iterate on it for certain needs for local markets. So I think it's just really cool how they do it, just in the spirit of things. And yes, absolutely, El Salvador is a prime example. A lot of this actually came from there. So every time I talk about the Blink wallet, just know that El Salvador was the birthplace of that. So those of you that don't know Bitcoin Beach, just Google that too. Check out that whole little community that they started and how they onboarded, roll this out. And that was really a tech company from abroad that saw the opportunity to set up this test community, if you will. And I'm butchering the history and just summarizing it really quick for the sake of the stream. But they set that up, Bitcoin Beach. It was on a beach, a little beach community. And that wallet, which was the Bitcoin Beach wallet, is what became the Blink wallet right now. So you can use the Blink wallet. You don't have to be in El Salvador to use the Blink wallet. But that is the version which was open sourced and people all around the world are using and modifying to make their own wallets. So yeah, El Salvador for sure. So yeah, a lot of amazing things are happening there. It is definitely a sort of proof of combination of the store of value through. Oh yeah, yep. There's a lot of different things that are happening right there through the government and the price investors. Let me just pull this up here. There's a lot going on there because I'm trying to talk and read at the same time, which those of you that know me know I am not the best multitasker. So it's actually pretty amazing that I can do these streams. So I think if my wife was actually watching right now, she'd be like, so how can you multitask when you're on a stream, but you can't multitask when you're doing anything else? But anyways, that's another topic for itself. But the price investors, yeah, like it's really interesting, right? Because like a lot of times people speak about like price and like the investors and all that stuff, and they're not focusing on the innovation. And like we get into the whole debate about the governments and all of that, but like there's a whole world, which is why this stream exists, why we start to do the good bits of doing amazing things that really I just feel like it's not getting enough love, if you will, around the world. And I just think it's really cool. So transactional output through the payments. Yeah, like so that too. Like it's just certain people just don't really understand what's going on here, and like there's a lot to look up and some just really cool stuff here. But you need to flip that into an AI chat agent. Yeah, like oh man, like the video. Yeah, that's just really cool stuff there. TSN, I really appreciate your comments here in the stream. And of course, I'm just looking. But anyways, those of you that are even watching the replay, you do have an entire week, by the way. You have an entire week to comment. Would you use this thing? And just in case you didn't see it, let me pull it back up. There we go. Would you use this? Like, is that something that you would use? Sending sats to a friend or a business owner using a graphic interface just as like that, just pouring it in to the next wallet. I think it's really cool. And again, if they don't ship this, I highly recommend that somebody else that's building a wallet, working on some stuff, using AI, whatever, using that open source technology to modify a graphic interface to look like this, I think would be a very cool thing. So it's just biometric sign off. It's the future, just a different interface. Yeah, it's like, so really, really interesting with that, right? So I have seen so many different versions of these wallets that I want to, oh, did I just crash myself? Nope. Nope. Did not. Where the inch? There we go. uh, right after I said I can multitask on stream. But it's really interesting, like the security options and how they do certain things. So one thing is a lot of places that are used to using WhatsApp and these cell phone payments, where certain parts of Africa, believe it or not, they use phone cards as like transactions. We spoke about that in the stream. Those of you that did not see the stream with Bitcoin and Kasi last week, that's on the page. I'll retweet it, reshare it after this. But really interesting. What happened is people are using all sorts of payment methods, and they're used to using their cell phones, cell phone credit, and so on to transact. So certain wallets, Bitcoin wallets, they adapt those like phone features, whether it be the biometrics, the thumbprint, the eye scan, or the facial scan, I should say, or whatever it is that people are used to try to get them to use that. Certain one of them will use phone numbers. There's even like a WhatsApp wallet in certain countries. And again, you're going to know what works good culturally and how this technology works. There's security risks in certain regions and so on. Certain areas like fraud and that stuff, it's just like not what they do culturally. Therefore, it's okay to set it up a certain way. But then there's like high risk zones that's going to have to be a little bit more creative in the way in which they do that. So there's no SIM swaps and so on. But anyways, I said all that to say this, that there's multiple ways to solve these problems. I think it's just really, really cool that there's innovation coming down the pipeline. And again, always a pleasure to do this stream. I'm a little bit over right now. I wanted to go a half an hour because the last time I did like 45 minutes and I was like, man, I kept the people too long on a Saturday evening. It's not like you're me, you're just living and breathing the stuff and on streams and spaces and uh, on a Saturday night. That's why I really appreciate those of you that are spending time with me on the stream. Really appreciate it. TSN as usual. My friend, it's always great to have you on spaces too. But yeah, so 1 week, comment that, and you can check out all the amazing things that's happening in Bitcoin. But as usual, I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Taj. Check out all the spaces that are coming up on Wolf Bitcoin and the Wolf ecosystem, but also those of you that are interested in Sundays spaces, we do have a Sunday evening space with the Ostium crew. So check that out. Cade and the crew will be speaking Sunday evenings. Check out the schedule. We'll be out probably Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon is when the schedule gets posted. So in case you don't know that, you can just look on that pinned tweet, see all the amazing spaces, sign up for the ones, or I should say bookmark, set the alarms for the one that you want, that you're interested in, and then you'll see us. So anywho, have a good week. I will see you all next week. This has been the Good Bit Stream, highlighting all the amazing things in Bitcoin circular economies, the technology that's spreading adoption worldwide, and just spreading good vibes to you. Later. Have a good one.